Hey guys, let's talk about last night's episode of Scandal. Vermont is for lovers, apparently. Yeah, there was quite a few things going on in this episode. And you guys, I got a theory that I need to talk to you about. So let's get to it. So you guys, as soon as I saw the title of this episode, I was like, oh, we are going to get some major Olitz action in this episode. And I knew it was going to happen. And it totally did. So, you know, Fitz calls Olivia at one point and she's like, doesn't want to talk to him because, of course, she still thinks that he killed her mother. We, of course, know that's not true, right? Because we saw her mother last week. We know she's still alive. But Olivia does not know that yet. My favorite part was when she hung up on Fitz and then proceeded to beat the crap out of the phone. Basically, so she wouldn't be able to answer it again. You know that's what that was. That's like that thing you do when you go to a restaurant and you don't want to eat any more food because you're feeling kind of fat. And so you like pour salt all over it so you can't eat anymore. That's pretty much what she did with that phone. But we all know Fitz is not gonna give up. And I love the fact that Jake recognized that. And Jake told her, like, he's still gonna call you. Like, he's just gonna find another way. And sure enough, he does. He basically wants to talk about the fact that he's found out who her father is. And so they have this huge moment and this huge conversation. And Olivia finally talks about her dad. You know, it really was kind of this moment for her because we know that Olivia is not really kind of an open person. She tells him that she was afraid if she told the truth, if she told him who her dad was, that he would have run away. And he tells her, of course, that he wouldn't. Meanwhile, let's stop and talk about the fact that they're in Vermont, right? The Secret Service come to Olivia's house. They get her. They take her on a plane and a helicopter or whatever, and she ends up like in the middle of this field and there's this house in Vermont, right? Okay, you guys, let's talk about that moment when Fitz tells her about the house because I almost passed out on the couch. I was so just like, oh, I was so touched and excited and it was just so beautiful and sappy and girly, and I know and I don't care. But basically what Fitz tells her is this house that we're in, like, I bought it for you. I bought it for us. It was the dream, basically. You know, it's big enough for lots of kids and for you to make jam. What is it with this woman in jam? And you get that she's extremely touched by it, right? As he's telling her, like, I wanted you to see it once, at least, before I sold it. And then, you know, the two of them argue, but that doesn't last very long. Next thing you know, the clothes are coming off and they're like making love on the floor. I did think it was really kind of symbolic, you know, that this house was really kind of like in a state of not being ready. You know, it's like all the furniture was still covered and there's dust and you get that work needs to be done before it can actually be lived in. And how symbolic is that of their relationship? You know, there's so much work to be done for the two of them before they can actually, you know, really kind of move in and live in. I love that moment too, the next morning when Olivia's getting ready to leave and she's at the door and she turns back to look at Fitz and she tells him, like, don't sell the house yet. And you get that by saying that, she's saying there's still hope for us. So that was kind of cool. What we really get after their night together is that they love each other and nothing's gonna get in the way of that. She thinks Fitz killed her mother. You know, he's mad at her because she rigged an election a couple of years ago. So nothing can stop these two. I loved it though at the end when he tells her, like, look, I need you to know that I love you because basically I'm getting ready to take your father down. And she tells him, do what you gotta do. I was like, all right. Speaking of the Pope family, let us talk about it, you guys. I have a theory, you guys, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there right now so that when it comes true, we will all remember that Poppy was the one who said it, who put it out there. So before I tell you my theory, let's talk really quick about Olivia's mom. Basically, we get she's locked up. We don't know why. We get that she wants to see her daughter, but we get Olivia's dad telling her that's not gonna happen. He's basically planning to move her, like, out of the country, like, as far away from Olivia as she could possibly be. And when Olivia's mom realizes that, she kind of freaks out and basically, like, bites her wrist until she gets an artery. What? You guys, I had to like close my eyes during that scene. It was a bit much for me as she's sitting there like gnawing away at her wrist and there was like blood everywhere. It was a lot. But by the end of the episode, we get that this was her plan, you know, that she did this with a purpose. Her and Eli have a few moments where he's like, look, I'll show you some pictures of Olivia. And hopefully that'll make you feel a little better. Not really though. I mean, this woman ends up escaping. And at the end of the episode, our cliffhanger is her approaching Olivia outside of her apartment. The least secure apartment in all of Washington, D.C. Now, you guys, let us talk about my theory. What if Olivia's mother is the bad guy and Eli, you know, Mr. Command, is kind of the good guy in this situation. All this time, we've been thinking Olivia's dad is kind of a horrible bad guy, but what if he's trying to protect her? What if Mama Pope is really the bad guy and that's why she's locked away? I really want to know why she's locked away, but that's my theory, you guys. What if Mama Pope is not going to have the best intentions when it comes to her daughter? I can't wait to see how that all pans out. Okay, let's talk about some of the other stuff that happened in the episode. Quinn basically got caught, right? As OPA was trying to figure out who killed their witness from last week's episode. And by the end of the episode, Huck knows that it was her. You know, Quinn thinks that she's managed to kind of get away with it and that nobody's going to know it was her. But Huck figures it out and Quinn goes home and opens her front door. And who should be sitting in the dark in her house? Scary as hell, but Huck. And he's not alone. He has come with all of his tools and his drills, and something tells me that that's not going to be a good thing for Miss Quinn. But of course, Huck wants to figure out who she's working for, so that should be interesting. Also, let's talk about Josie Marcus really quick. She's not running for president anymore because she fell on her sword for her daughter/sister. Turns out that the daughter/sister was scheming and came up with this plan to get rid of Governor Reston by faking a robbery and then planting the stuff that was stolen in his campaign headquarters. And so in the end, Josie Marcus decides to take the blame for it all, which I was just like, why is she doing that? I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it was just like, that sucks for her. That also means, though, that Olivia is out of a job. And so fingers crossed, you guys, fingers crossed that that's going to mean that she's going to be working for Grant for president again soon. Let's talk about Melly really quickly, you guys, right? Because in this episode, you really get that for some reason, this woman is still holding out hope that her husband is going to fall magically in love with her. We see her rewatching this interview that she and Fitz did, you know, where Fitz really kind of defended her. She's rewatching it, and you get that she's doing that because she likes to see him defending her. And then, of course, when he disappears to go off to Vermont, to the house that no one knows about, to make jam with Olivia, Melly's trying to figure out where he's at, but she's kind of a smart cookie, so it doesn't take her long to connect the little dots as she starts to realize that my husband is with Olivia Pope. It just shows that she's not as tough as she puts herself out there to be, and that she really does still want her husband to love her, and it just made me sad. And let's talk about Cyrus and James and the vice president's husband, right? So Cyrus, who I told y'all last week he was going to do it. He's going to pimp his husband out as him and Melly scheme and try to get some dirt on the vice president's husband. So they pushed James into doing this interview with him. And then Cyrus and Melly both really kind of stoke the flame, right? Cyrus has got somebody outside taking photos. Now, neither James or the vice president's husband, Daniel, know that. And of course, Cyrus is hoping that Daniel's going to make a pass at James. But as it's happening, James starts to put two and two together. He starts to realize that he's been set up, that his husband is using him. And then, you guys, this is the big question. I'm not really sure what happened, right? Because he comes home and is just kind of like, oh, hey, the interview was great. I'm going to take a shower. And then Cyrus gets the text message from the person who was taking pictures, and there's photographs. In the pictures, we see the VP's husband and James doing things that people in Vermont do. And so Cyrus is shocked. But then I wasn't sure, did James really go through it? Or did he just kind of fake it a little bit so that Cyrus would kind of get a taste of his own medicine? I'm not quite sure what happened, so I'm hoping we're going to figure that out. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Yeah, you guys, I thought it was a really good episode. It kind of sucks that we have to wait until December 5th until a new episode. And then when that episode happens, that's the winter finale. What is this crap all about? I can't stand it. Because then it's going to be 6 weeks until we get a new episode, and they're really trying to drive me insane. But, you know, we made it through the summer, so I'm sure I will survive. Okay, guys, as always, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my other Scandal reviews, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.